The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says the methanol-blended petrol that has been causing a crisis was imported through the company's direct sales, direct purchase arrangement. NNPC Group Managing Director Mele Kyari explains that quality inspectors failed to detect the high level of methanol in the product at the point of export in Belgium and at the point of arrival in Nigeria.
Precisely on the 20th of January, NNPC received a report from a quality inspector on the presence of emulsion particles in the PMS cargoes shipped to Nigeria from Antwerp, Belgium. NNPC investigations revealed the presence of methanol in 4 of the PMS cargoes imported by our DSTP suppliers, including MRS, Emadev High Energy, AY McKiffy, Britannia U Consortium, Oando, and also our own company, Dick Oil. Cargo quality certificates issued at Load Port, which is Antwerp, Belgium, by Amspec Belgium, indicates that the gasoline complied with Nigerian specifications. The NNPC quality inspectors, including GMO, SGS, JOCHEM, and G&G, all world-class surveyors and inspectors, conducted tests on this before discharge and also showed that the gasoline met Nigerian specifications. As a standard practice for all PMS imports to Nigeria, the cargoes were equally certified by inspection agents appointed by the midstream and downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority as products that met Nigerian specification. It is important to note that the usual quality inspection protocol employed in both load port in Belgium and our discharge ports in Nigeria do not include the test for percentage of methanol content, and therefore additive was not detected by our quality inspectors. In order to prevent the distribution of the petrol, we have ordered the quarantine of all unevacuated volumes and the holding back of all affected products in transit, both on trucks and in marine, and our partners are cooperating with us to achieve this. We'd like also to emphasize that all defaulting suppliers have been put on notice for remedial actions, and NNPC will work with the authority to take further necessary actions in line with subsisting regulations. May I also emphasize that this is a very unfortunate situation. We apologize to Nigerians for this situation. However, we assure Nigerians that we are currently sourcing additional cargoes to ensure product sufficiency, and we do not see any danger or any supply disruption in this situation. I'd like to thank you for your patience, and we remain committed to serving you. Thank you very much.
To help us unpack some of the critical elements to this ongoing crisis, we're now being joined by Dr. Diran Fawibe, a retired oil and gas industry executive and Group Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, International Energy Services Limited. Welcome to the program, Dr. Fawibe, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yes, Dr. Fawibe. Well, already the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources says the President has ordered an investigation into this whole drama of the importation of off-specification 317 million liters of fuel from Antwerp, Belgium by 4 dealers into Nigeria and international oil traders. Now, what form should this investigation take? What are those critical questions that investigators should ask? And what kind of response do you think that the head, Farouk Ahmed is his name, of the midstream and downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority should be, telling the government and the people of Nigeria? For example, I can bring up one of those questions. Yeah, this cargo, we're told, is from Antwerp, Belgium. Was it from the port or was it directly from the refinery? And who inspected the fuel? And what happened when the fuel got to Nigeria? Some of these questions, if you could help us clarify them.
Well, it is very curious that, based on the discussions or the press conference of the Group Managing Director of NNPC about the various tests conducted at Antwerp, that is the port of export to Nigeria, and the port in Nigeria, before the cargoes were allowed to be discharged into Nigeria system, that this problem was not detected. It is very curious that this was the case, because normally, and it also shows something. Methanol, excess methanol in PMS imported to Nigeria has caused problem in the past. So in designing these quality specifications of to meet the Nigerian standard, obviously the level of methanol in the PMS ought to be clearly stated, knowing that we have had this type of problem in the past. There are many things that could cause quality problems in petrol in PMS, but be as it may, in the past we have had this type of situation in the past. So whatever may be the specifications for Nigerian PMS, the level of methanol, acceptable level of methanol, ought to be specified so that nobody will be in doubt whatsoever when the test is being conducted, that this level of methanol in the PMS is higher than the normal, the approved level. So it's good that the DMD has apologized to the nation and what of the remedial actions to be taken. Now, it appears as if, based on what he said, it looks as if the preliminary investigation had been done. And because normally, when a product is being imported to the country, there must be a thorough test at the port of shipment, and a sample of the product must be on board of the vessel, which will be handed over to the inspection agency in Nigeria, and this test must be conducted before the cargo is allowed to discharge. That is passed through all these processes, and this problem was not detected. It's curious. So on that basis, it maybe a lot of additional investigations still need to be done. I don't want to believe in the conspiracy theory that something must go wrong. If the inspection agencies are international companies, how come that these things slipped off their hand, whereby they were able to import this petrol, this gasoline to the country, which has now caused a lot of problems, and it's an embarrassment, even to NNPC and to the regulatory agency, and indeed to Nigeria, that at this time that we can afford to do away with toxic fuel, we are still getting it into the country, and it has put NNPC in a tea in the bag of the tea of NNPC, is some in the tea of NNPC, whereby NNPC was being crucified for not managing the refinery to be able to refine locally so that we don't have to import petroleum products. That has caused a lot of problems, especially in terms of subsidy payment and a lot of money that were being invested in other areas of our life and being paid as subsidy, and in fact, it's one of the contributing factors for the PIA being suspended because if we have to implement wholesale the PIA, and the issue of subsidy will be compromised. So this is the issue. But be that as it may, we cannot continue to do a blame game. We have to find out the true cause of the problem. And the president has ordered full investigation, and appropriate penalty or sanction must be imposed on those who have been responsible for this problem, no matter how highly placed. the problem, the importers may be. Indeed, it was being said that even Duke Oil, which is supposed to be a subsidiary of NNPC, was also involved in this, apart from some other private companies. So a thorough investigation about how the testing was done and this problem was not detected at the port of shipment and at the port of entry in Nigeria, it is indeed very, very curious.
Okay, Dr. Fawibe, you've raised quite a number of issues of public interest and concern. But let me start first with the point about conspiracy theory that you say you don't believe in. Some people say, look, there is conspiracy involved here, and that this is a case clearly of corruption. That there must have been some form of collusion, either at the pre-shipment point or at the delivery stage. The authority, that's what the midstream and downstream regulatory authority is called, has chemical laboratories that authority inherited from DPR. How did they miss it? How did the contaminated fuel, how did it escape into the market? Is it that those laboratories are no longer working again? Second, we've also been told that the protocol list for oil imports into refined product imports into Nigeria does not include methanol. The list out there is methanol. It shows nil in front of methanol. And that's what the NNPC bases its points upon, to say nobody tested for methanol. And this methanol, even in other jurisdictions, 2%, 3% maximum. This off-spec fuel that was brought into the country had as high as 20% to 30%. And that's a lot of money if you calculate it. So was somebody playing games with volume in order to cause problems? That's one leg of the conspiracy. The second leg of the conspiracy is what has been brought up by organized labor, the Nigerian Labour Congress. Nigerian Labour Congress says it's curious that this is happening just shortly after the Nigerian government says it was retaining subsidy for the next 18 months. And the Nigerian Labour Congress says it suspects that this is an attempt for the government to revise itself and bring back the subsidy. These are two major conspiracies that have been attached to this development. What do you think, sir?
Well, thank you very much. You see, the issue is this. Now, obviously, anybody would subscribe, that obviously there is a conspiracy in this matter because, like I said before, this will not be the first time that we have problem with level of methanol in PMS imported into the country. So how come then that the regulatory agency was not able to revise or review the specs for products importation to include the level of methanol? You learn from the mistakes of the past. So does it mean that we have not learned from this? Because if this will be the first time, one can easily excuse the regulatory agency or whoever set up, whoever designed the specs. And that we should know this. In this country, we were producing petroleum products. We are refining crude oil in this country. There was never any time when the Kaduna or Warri or Port Harcourt refinery produced petroleum products or PMS that we had this kind of problem. Although the issue of whether we should continue to import petroleum products is a different matter. In other words, we will not be safe when it comes to toxic fuel until we start to refine fuel in the country. This is a separate issue. But the factory, and even when we were doing offshore processing, where we took crude oil to refineries in Europe, and NNPC was directly in charge of handling this transaction. The refiners in Europe, we started off this arrangement with Czech Curaçao, in 1976, and during the period of this arrangement, there was never a time that toxic fuel was ever brought into the country. It was when vested interest came in And we have all kinds of merchants and so on that who will now buy products off the shelf, and that issue of off-spec came into petroleum products importation into the country. Now, I won't say that government should cancel this type of arrangement and go back to the issue of offshore processing, dealing directly, with refiners or refineries to bring products into the country where the specs are thoroughly checked, at the point of refining, and also at the point of taking the product from the refinery before it's loaded into tankers. So, but as it is now, we need a high-powered investigation panel to unravel the issue of how this problem came about. Yes, well, Nigerians, to start, we will accept the apology of the DMD, who he was not there. He will not authorize people bringing products into the country to import off-spec. And this is how many unscrupulous merchants tend to compromise the interests of our country and put hard-working officials of government into trouble. Yes, you may say probably there was corruption and so on. Well, we don't know where this might have happened if there was. But so this panel of investigation, we investigate all these issues. How was it that this problem was not detected both locally and at Antwerp, where the products were being shipped? But it also goes to show that we have to review, first of all, the specs, and secondly, the type of people who companies will give contract to on other DSP of this or whatever arrangement it is, so that we will do away with people who have no understanding about the business, and not only business, they are just interested in making money. They are not interested in ensuring that the interests of Nigerians are protected. But certainly there must be a serious sanction against those who are responsible for this, so that it will serve as deterrent for others in future.
Okay, Dr. Fawibe, you alluded to the fact that perhaps local refining is a separate issue, but some people don't think so. The leaders of the organized labor certainly don't think so. They're very critical of the direct sale, direct purchase regime, under which this crude oil swap crisis has now occurred and had occurred in the past. And the whole argument is that, look, Nigeria has a kind of oil called sweet crude, Bonny Light, Focados oil, and all of that. And that if the refineries were working, then there would be no need for the direct sale, direct purchase arrangements. Do you think that what has happened now, causing so much anguish for Nigerian motorists and vehicle owners, provides an opportunity to take a second look at the state of the refineries and the direct sale, direct purchase arrangement that we have?
Well, we won't have to be belaboring the issue. Where the issue of the status of the refineries are already in the public domain, whereby Port Harcourt refinery is undergoing rehabilitation, and hopefully, and according to the Minister of State for Petroleum, the rehabilitation will get to a level where we can be having products coming from that refinery before the year runs out. So the Port Harcourt refinery is 2-in-1. The total capacity, refining capacity or nameplate is 210,000 barrels per day. The new one was 150. The old one was 60. So if, for example, we are able to get as much as say 60% or 70% capacity of 210,000 barrels per day from the refinery before the end of the year, it means that substantially some of the products being imported will reduce. Secondly, the Dangote refinery, according to information, will be able to come on stream before the year runs out. This is about the only consolation we can have. The Kaduna and Port Harcourt and Warri, I'm not too sure whether the rehabilitation have started, but if ever they have, it may not be completed until sometime 2023. So we cannot say because of this problem, we now have to start constructing a new refinery and so on. Yes, ordinarily, if we had managed our affairs properly, a country of this population, 200 million, then let me take your mind back. We commissioned the Port Harcourt refinery, the big Port Harcourt refinery in 1988. And for a country, a dynamic country where population is increasing and the economy is developing, ordinarily we should start immediately after that. We could be planning another refinery. Yes, when Obasanjo administration came on board, private sector companies were given licenses to establish refineries and so on. Unfortunately, 18 licenses that were granted, none of them, was able to start that point was
Hello, Dr. Fawibe.
Policy or direction forthcoming for one reason or the other.
Hello, Dr. Fawibe, can you hear me from the studio here?
Yes.
Can you hear me clearly? We seem to be having issues with the audio. But can you hear me, sir?
I'm
Hello?
hearing you now.
You are hearing me now?
You.
Okay, please go ahead,
Yeah.
because there was a problem with the audio. Please go ahead.
Okay. What I'm saying is that, as a matter of policy direction, change of policy by Obasanjo administration, private companies 18 licenses were issued to private companies to establish refineries. The rest is history, that none of them was able to establish one. Then what I felt government might have done at that point in time, given the failure on the part of private sector companies, is for government to jumpstart, one or two refineries. Maybe we at a point, government can now sell the shares. Or for example, you do a joint JV, government takes 60%, and the private sector takes 40% at that point in time, with the intention that after the completion of the refinery, the government will sell its own shares to the public. Maybe through that process, we could be able to establish one or two refineries after that. I'm quite aware that NNPC was considering refineries with Chinese and so on. Of course, that didn't go anywhere. So we have not managed our affairs, when it comes to establishment of refinery, to be able to be self-sufficient. This is part of the energy security that Nigeria should be concerned with. Many countries that are not oil resources endowed, take this issue seriously, and we can now see the effect, on the economy where we are a major producer, and yet we cannot refine adequate supply of crude oil, to meet our demand, and we now have to be importing. It's an embarrassment, to Nigeria and to Nigerians, when we are doing this. But there's no point in engaging in lamentation. The issue has been in the public domain for a long time. So the only thing we can concentrate now is the rehabilitation of the government refineries and coming on stream of Dangote refinery. If these refineries come on stream, we can bet it that we will be able to have adequate supply of products. But that will not be the end of it. We shall now have to start planning additional refineries. Modular refineries, yes, they may add a few barrels to the supply, but I don't believe that it is the panacea for meeting the demand of petroleum products in the country.
Okay, Dr. Fawibe, Nigerians, aggrieved Nigerians, in fact, support the president on the issue of investigation. They want investigation, they want sanctions. But what we are confronted with is the trading of blames, the passing of the buck, as you yourself said earlier on. MRS says hold NNPC responsible because MRS says, oh, Decoy is a trading partner of the NNPC. NNPC says, no, don't hold us responsible. We, in fact, brought this issue to the public domain. MRDEP Consulting says, oh, we have no hand in this matter. It is Britannia U, which is a member of the consortium, that is responsible for this. Britannia U says, no, we have done no wrong. The 90,000 metric tons of fuel that we brought in, there's no problem with it at all. So you see, they're just playing the Nigerians like football. Who should conduct this investigation? Shouldn't the president ask the Nigerian Intelligence Agency to step into the matter, and Interpol, to look at it government to government level, because they are trying to make it look like fuel importation is a sophisticated form of witchcraft. What's your opinion, sir?
Well, let me say this. I'm happy the president, came into this because, yes, given the fact that the president of the country is also the minister for petroleum, in the main. So he has, if an issue is receiving the attention of the highest level of government in the country, it must be taken seriously. Now, let me give you an example. In 1975, we had a shortage of petroleum products in the country, and there are a lot of crises arising from this. Government of that time, that's the one administration, set up or put a panel of investigation. It was a judicial commission of inquiry to look into the matter. So, given the embarrassment this has caused, and this issue is coming at a critical stage in the country, because the issue that made the president to suspend the issue of subsidy removal, and which also affects the implementation of PIA, is a serious matter. So I won't say it is too much if the president said, okay, let's set up a judicial commission of inquiry so that all this buck-passing nonsense we stop. And some of them, for even, they must be made to swear on oath in terms of their act of omission or commission. And if everybody is found live and perjure himself, he must be made to face the wrath of the law. We tend to take a number of things, lightly, and then people will say that they will get away with it. So this era of impunity must stop. And before this president leaves office, he must be able to bear his anger, on this matter to demonstrate that he is not the kind of person that you can push around with all kinds of buck passing and lies. It's an embarrassment to his government. It's an embarrassment to him as the Minister of Petroleum. It's an embarrassment to Nigeria and the Committee of Nations that we are importing petroleum products, which ordinarily we should not import. But even when we are doing that, we are importing toxic fuel into the country. This must stop. And for once, government, the president must be able to demonstrate that he is on top of issues of petroleum industry in this country. So I would suggest that, yes, we will bring in NIA or the Interpol and whatever. It may be considered as a minor issue, but the time at which this matter is coming up, it won't be too much if we set up a judicial commission of inquiry to actually unravel the issue, why this testing and so on, sleep was not done properly, both at the port of shipment and at the port of arrival in Nigeria. And now Nigerians have been embarrassed. Some motorists, have been whose vehicles were filled with this toxic fuel, have been affected badly. Some of their vehicles have been damaged. So government will now have to be paid pay compensation. Can government afford that in this when we are thinking of borrowing money, to implement the budget, and then we have even already we have a budget deficit ordinarily. So these are the issues. We should take this matter seriously once, at least for this time.
Well, Dr. Fawibe, two more questions, and we're done with this segment of the program. The first one, for how long do you think this will last? Because one of the things that the NNPC Group Managing Director has assured everyone is that efforts have been made to bring in clean fuel to address the supply, challenge that have been created by, the importation of off-spec petrol. Now we're told in the papers today, specifically this day, that the federal government has had to reject 2 cargoes of adulterated petrol, again imported from the same Belgium. At a time we're talking about adulterated petrol. The conversation has gone on for days, but they still brought in more adulterated off-specification fuel, and that has been turned back. And then the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, and also the owners of fuel stations, they're saying it's not that easy to just, discharge the off-specification fuel. How long would that take? How much longer are we going to suffer as Nigerians, particularly considering the fact that smooth supply of fuel at the filling stations is considered one of the major achievements of the Buhari administration? How much of a setback is this for the Buhari administration?
Well, it can be considered to be a setback. Whether it is major or minor is another issue. Now, the toxicity in the toxic fuel was discovered, and of course, this is being withdrawn from the market. Bringing a replacement to the country is not something that you can just do, with just a push of the button. It takes quite some time before cargo sail from Europe to Nigeria, at least probably about 2 weeks. So, though there was another newspaper report that about 11 cargoes are waiting on to be offloaded, at the port. So, whether this is true or not is another question. Then, obviously, there used to be continuous importation. It just happened that this one happened this week, meaning that there are some other suppliers who are bringing fuel into the country. NNPC was said to have said there is about 20 days supply of fuel in the country. So it's a question of how you can carefully withdraw this toxic fuel and then replace the new with the new ones. So there are two elements here. The correct fuel specs, the correct fuel in the country right now, where are they? How can they be sent to various depots and then shipped to the various pump stations and so on? How can you identify the toxic fuel and then remove them so that they don't compound the adulteration, by mixing the new ones with the adulterated fuel? So, but when it comes to bringing additional fuel into the country, yes, NNPC, you can't. It's a bulky item that you cannot ship by air, so to say. So it still has to come by boat. So it will have to take a couple of days, before you can get adequate supply. But I think NNPC, claims to be on top of it. I was at a book launch yesterday by one of the heads of NNPC, and the PMD of NNPC said that, tend to assure the audience that, that NNPC is on top of it, that the issue of this problem will disappear within the next few days. If we if we take him seriously, that will mean that maybe in the coming week we can see an end to this. But of course, we also have to think about the others. The unscrupulous people who want to take advantage of this problem and be hoarding fuel and cause and compound the problem. So the security agency will have to do a yeoman's job in ensuring that the correct fuel is being transported to the various parts of the country, particularly Abuja, Lagos, and some other major cities.
Okay, Dr. Fawibe, before we go, who is going to bear the cost? You yourself, you refer to compensation for motorists. IPMAN and owners of the retail stations are saying that consumers are attacking their fuel stations. 20 fuel stations in Port Harcourt have had to be shut down. And IPMAN is saying if it is sued by consumers, it will sue, in turn, the NNPC. So all this talk about payment or compensation, who's going to pay that compensation? Because the latest we had is that if you bought fuel from a particular filling station and you did not collect receipt, then of course you are not entitled to any compensation. So who should pay? The federal government, the authority led by Farouk Ahmed, NNPC and Duke Oil, or the dealers or the traders, or who? And what is the guarantee that this won't happen again?
Well, I guess the agreement with the suppliers of the fuel, we have to have conditions, stating, in case they supply toxic fuel, what they are going, the penalty for this. So I would expect that the suppliers will have to pay some penalty with them. And if there is no penalty in the agreement, especially for supplying toxic fuel or not off-spec product, then it will be a terrible thing. But let me just assume that compensation will have to come from them in the first instance. Now, in terms of when problem of this of this nature happens, it's a case that government cannot just allow its citizens to be suffering. Maybe in the first instance, government will have to take some responsibility, and then whatever penalty that will be imposed, which will be a locked-down one in terms of recovery. The government can then make up for this, but in the first instance, government will have to take some responsibility to show that it's a serious government that is interested in the welfare of its people, and because if this type of thing drags on for another 6 months to 1 year, and you can bet it that there are some of these people who will actually go to court, because in this country we have pensions for going to court over ridiculous things at times, and then if the people who suffered damages will have to wait until this matter is resolved, then it may create a bit of hardship, for them. So, but the investigation will show, clearly who takes responsibility, who is at fault, and what level of culpability is involved in this matter. So at the end of the day, government will have to follow the rule of law, imposing penalty and then and also pay compensation to the affected people. The rule of law will have to prevail in this matter.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Diran Fawibe, for joining us and for shedding light on this major issue of public interest in Nigeria at the moment.